All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a hidden force, a kind of silent saboteur that might just be the real reason behind so many of our common health problems. We're talking about chronic inflammation.
So, does this sound like you? You're just always tired, no matter how much you sleep. Your joints ache for no reason, your thoughts feel kind of fuzzy, and you just can't seem to kick that feeling of being completely worn out.
Well, what if I told you these aren't just random, separate problems? What if they're actually clues, breadcrumbs, leading us to one single hidden culprit that's secretly running the show inside your body?
And that culprit is inflammation. But hang on, it's not as simple as saying inflammation is bad, because it actually has two very different sides. You can think of it as a good fire that's essential for our survival and a bad fire that silently wreaks havoc.
See, at its core, inflammation is a really good thing. It's your body's first responder. When you get a cut or you're fighting off a cold, your immune system rushes in, and you see that redness and swelling? That's your body healing itself. It means your internal defense system is working perfectly.
So let's use an analogy here. The good kind, acute inflammation, is like a controlled campfire. You know, it keeps you warm, protects you, it does its job, and then it goes out. But chronic inflammation, that's a whole different beast. It's like a silent, smoldering forest fire. The alarm system in your body just never shuts off, and this low-grade fire starts to damage healthy parts of the forest over time.
And the damage from that forest fire is no joke. We're not just talking about minor aches here. Research now links this chronic, smoldering fire to some of the biggest health challenges we face today. Everything from heart disease and diabetes to depression and even Alzheimer's and some cancers. It's a huge deal.
Okay, so how exactly does this internal fire cause so much trouble? I mean, how does it actually make us feel so tired and crummy? Well, let's look at the science of it.
It all comes down to these tiny proteins called cytokines. The easiest way to think of them is as emergency messengers that run around your body screaming, "Code red, code red." In chronic inflammation, messengers like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6 are just constantly being pumped out, keeping your whole system on high alert 24/7.
And this constant state of emergency, it pushes your body into a full-blown energy crisis. Here's why. Your cells have to switch how they make energy. They go from their normal, super-efficient process to a frantic, wasteful emergency mode. It's kind of like trying to run your car in first gear on the highway. You're burning a ton of fuel, making a lot of noise, but you're not getting anywhere fast. The result? You feel completely drained no matter what you do.
And this quote from a study in PubMed Central absolutely nails it. This isn't the kind of tired you can just sleep off on a Saturday. They call it pathological fatigue, because rest doesn't fix it. Why? Because the underlying cause, that smoldering fire of inflammation, is still burning.
Now, I know this all might sound a little bleak, but here is the really good news. We are not powerless here. Not at all. We have some incredible tools to fight back, and maybe the most powerful one is sitting right there in your kitchen.
Seriously, the choices you make every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner can either fan the flames of inflammation or help put them out. Food can be one of the most powerful forms of medicine you can possibly find.
And it really breaks down pretty simply. On one side, you have the fire starters. Things like sugar, refined carbs, fried foods, you know the stuff. But on the other side, you have the firefighters. We're talking about berries, leafy greens, fatty fish loaded with omega-3s, nuts, olive oil, and even spices like turmeric. The goal is simple: more firefighters, less fire starters. And look, this isn't just a theory or some feel-good advice. It is backed up by hard scientific evidence. Let's actually look at a few examples of how these changes make a real, measurable impact. So check this out. Take omega-3s, the healthy fats you find in fish. A study published in PubMed found that for certain kinds of neck and back pain, omega-3s were just as effective as common painkillers like ibuprofen. But here's the kicker: they were a safer alternative. That is a huge statement about the power of food. And if you want to see the proof on paper, here it is. This is from a 2024 study on rheumatoid arthritis. Now that's a classic inflammatory disease. The bottom line represents how inflammatory a person's diet is. The line on the side shows how bad their disease is. And look at that. It's a straight line going up. The more inflammatory the diet, the worse the disease gets. It's a direct, undeniable link.
Let's just zoom in on one specific superstar, curcumin. That's the powerful compound in turmeric. This table pulls data from a bunch of different studies, and you can see that across all these different conditions, arthritis, metabolic issues, even psoriasis, curcumin helps lower the levels of those emergency messengers we talked about earlier, like TNF-alpha and IL-6.
But fighting inflammation isn't only about food. To truly tame that fire for good, you've got to look at the bigger picture. It's really about building an anti-inflammatory lifestyle.
Here are 4 other absolute game changers. Getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep is non-negotiable. That's when your body does its repair work. Managing stress is huge because stress hormones literally fuel inflammation. Regular movement, just a walk every day, can lower those inflammatory markers. And of course, staying hydrated helps your body flush out all the junk. They all work together.
So the question really isn't if you can fight chronic inflammation. The science is clear that you absolutely can. The real question is, what's going to be your first step? Maybe it's just adding a handful of berries to your breakfast, or going for a walk after dinner. So what's one small change you can make, starting today, to begin turning down the heat?